get started. Welcome to Try Again, Movie Club. This show is a show where each week we get together as friends and we talk about a movie. We pick usually a movie that none of us have seen before or few of us have seen before, and we review it, we talk crap on it, and we do our best to be funny and often fail. So we're excited that you're here watching the show or listening to the show. I am Todd Perkins, your host, and I'm joined by my co-host, Mac McEnroe. And special guest this time, comedian Joe DeVito, you're from New York, right, Joe?
Yeah, right on Long Island.
Sweet. Well, welcome to the show.
Welcome,
Thank
Joe.
you for being on.
And let them know that's a still image of me. I'm not just taking a very leisurely sip of that glass of wine.
That'd be awesome. Just every time you pause to talk, you just take.
He's a ventriloquist comedian.
Yes. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, we had some technical difficulties. Like Joe's camera wasn't working at the same time as his microphone. So rather than you see his beautiful face moving back and forth with no audio, we opted to just have his beautiful voice.
You know what, though? It's better because as I move the laptop around, I'm like, which is the least embarrassing background of my apartment? which poster or laundry was the most humiliating? So trust me, it's better
For the record, I thought your apartment looked pretty cool. I was wondering what some of those posters were. I was like, I can't tell if that's like some awesome B movie or what, but it looks fun.
Yeah. I've got the Goodfellas. The famous dog painting. I've got a big one of those, and I got a bunch of comedy record albums. So
nice.
Yeah, kind of stuff no woman really wants to see on a guy's wall.
Nice.
It's right up there. It's right up there with a human skin.
Great. So the movie this week is Footloose, the original from 1984 with Kevin Bacon. So what we're going to do is start out with a review of the movie. And we'll each give a quick, 30-second spiel on the score that we'd give it out of 10. And then from there, we'll go into a discussion about the various parts of the movie. I'll kick it off. I really don't know how I feel about this movie. This is disclaimer. It's the first time I've seen Footloose. And I'm going to go with the IMDb rating of 6.5 out of 10. I wasn't crazy about it. However, that being said, I think the angry dance scene is one of the greatest scenes of any movie I've ever seen. And I think everybody should see that scene. So just like do a search for angry dance in Footloose. You will not regret it. It is beautiful. But yeah, I thought that part was a 10. The rest of the movie was like, sadly kind of boring. Hopefully you guys can convince me otherwise. But yeah, I'm going to go with 6.5. Mac, what'd you give it and why?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think that one scene is good. I don't think anything else is especially good. The acting's not good. The premise doesn't make any sense and is completely ridiculous. But I kind of like all that stuff, the fact that it sucks. But not enough to give it above like a 4.5.
Oh man, Joe, what did you think?
Well, I think I'm gonna surprise you guys because I have a feeling I'm quite a few years older than you. I'm 48, so I remember when this movie came out in the small town I grew up in. They showed it for the whole summer.
Oh,
so
wow.
Whenever me and my delinquent friends were going out, we would tell our parents, "Oh, we're gonna go see Footloose," and then we would go, smoke pot in the garage or something. So I'm gonna give it it has a caveat if you had to be there. I'm gonna give it an 8. And the reason why I'm giving it such a high score is because I look at these 80s movies that are so incredibly unrealistic, but we didn't know it back then. It makes me really nostalgic because, like you watch those scenes where he's doing gymnastics in an empty warehouse, and there was no one on set who could just stand up and say, yeah, no human being does this. But in the 80s, you were like, yeah, it's great. Turn up the Denise Williams. Let's hear it for the boy.
That's a great point. That is a great point. Yeah, like Mac and I are like mid-30s dudes. And I was born in 82, so I couldn't have seen this until I was, teenager or adult or whatever, or, a kid. So yeah, it's like relating to it. I mean, I remember the '80s a little bit, you know,
Yeah.
but it was kind of hard to relate to the stuff. I could see like how, well, like a lot of those like fantasy movies were like that.
Yeah.
It was an
Like-
Yeah. One
extremely
thing I thought
corny.
about it was that. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I'm sorry. It was an extremely corny decade. So when you
Mhm.
look back at it, you're like, you think you've got to be kidding me. But when you were there, you just sort of thought like, oh, that's the way the world could possibly be, which unfortunately is not the case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it kind of felt like one of those, like a scary movie, like 80s movie, you know? It had like most of the 80s movie qualities of like the terrible music and the couple of montages, I think.
Yeah.
It didn't have any kind of like robots or like or like those Pee Wee Herman machines that do things.
Yeah.
Not enough like racism for the average 80s movie, but it accomplished ticked most of the 80s movie boxes.
Oh man. Yeah, that's so okay. Rob says, one of our viewers says, so what do you think? Is the angry dance scene supposed to be funny?
No.
I don't think to 80s eyes it was supposed to. I think it was supposed to be awesome.
You know, I was thinking like, and I was, like I said, I didn't see this. I was a kid in the 80s, but I do remember in like the late 80s, early 90s, like when I first started showing an interest in the ladies, when I was a kid, I do remember definitely thinking that being good at gymnastics would get me chicks. I distinctly remember that. And I had never seen this, but I mean, Kevin Bacon in this movie was kind of proof of that,
Yeah.
At least
Yeah,
at the time.
His performance was really good. I mean, there's certain elements of like you're right about the montages that it's almost like in 80s movies that they would finish the movie and realize they were about 20 minutes short in every movie, and they're like, well, we gotta pad it out with a bunch of montages. But I was watching the one where he's trying to teach Chris Penn how to dance, and I mean, he can't even snap his fingers. It's like, does he have some sort of neurological problem? Like, this is not. He's not just a hillbilly. He has like a traumatic brain injury.
I was reading in the IMDb trivia about that, and it said that he had no idea how to dance. That scene wasn't going to be in the movie, but because he actually couldn't dance, they put the scene in. They wrote that in for him, and they had to teach him how to dance through something he knew, which was wrestling. So, which I mean, if you look at that guy, he looks like he's been in a few wrestling matches.
That's awesome. I feel like that dude was actually that character. Like that was the most convincing thing in the movie to me is that guy was that guy. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
That guy was playing himself in the movie.
So true.
I find looking back now that I'm an adult, I really relate with the John Lithgow character more. Where I'm like, yeah, no dance. The kid's doing gymnastics in a warehouse. I don't want my daughter involved with that.
I'm with you. I'm very anti-dance.
Oh man, yeah. Well, as we learned from the movie, it starts with the dancing, and the dancing is the gateway to reading books. So
That's true.
It gets pretty wild with that. that his character was so weird too. Like I guess it was based on a true story where they didn't allow dancing in some like Oklahoma town or something. But it was just it's hard to picture that being real. Where
Yeah.
like dancing is banned.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure there's places you could go where people like can tell us stories about how they grew up in a town like that. And that certainly wasn't my experience. I mean, it just, again, everything in the 80s had sort of like this, like an anthem. It was a total, I guess if you watch movies from the 70s, which I like, they're also grim and very anti-authoritarian. And then in the 80s, it just became this, there was no such thing as corniness. Like you couldn't, just look at the clothes people wore, the neon and all that stuff. Because it wasn't just the 80s looked ridiculous. It was this element of ridiculously with, hey, check this out.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
this
true.
is not just ridiculous, it's awesome.
Yeah. And speaking of that, I was looking up to see if there's any like places on Earth today that like don't allow dancing, and it turns out there's like countries. This is from a HuffPo article, but like these are the countries that don't allow dancing. One of them, one of these doesn't fit But there's Kuwait, Afghanistan, Iran, Germany, Sweden, and then Japan was on the list, which was really surprising.
Are these? Wait, when is this current?
Okay, this is a few years ago. B, this is Huffington Post, so I don't know. I read it on the internet somewhere, so who knows? Let's see. Going back,
should make a movie.
Go for it.
I was going to say they should. None of those surprise me except for maybe Germany and Japan. The other Middle Eastern countries is like whatever.
Yeah.
But they should make one that, like, in Singapore you can't chew gum, so they should make a version of Footloose where someone comes to Singapore and he wins over the resident John Lithgow character so everyone can chew gum.
That sounds amazing.
He's got some kind of local scriptural thing about how gum is evil and kids are having sex because of all the gum.
I want to see the montage. It has like the Veruca Salt from.
Veruca Salt. Oh yes. Oh.
That'd be a great montage. You're right. Like the guy he's teaching just keeps choking on gum. Like then he graduates to walking and chewing gum at the same time.
Yes. Oh man. Going back to the Angry Dance, Jessica says, I think the Angry Dance is supposed to be awesome. When I watched it when I was a teenager, I thought it was awesome. Yesterday, I laughed through the whole thing. And Trisha says, funny how you watch some movies like 20 years later and you're like, what were they thinking? Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
But you're right, though. Like, I feel like I feel like it'd be really fun to, like, have the 80s again, you know? If we had that same kind of cheesiness and we just, like, treated it like it was awesome, I'd be all about it.
Yeah, I feel like the hipsters are like the modern version of that, you know, doing stuff ironically.
I guess they are. Yeah, they didn't seem as whimsical and fun.
Yeah,
it just seems
definitely not as
more
fun.
like pretentious. Yeah,
the pretentious version of the 80s.
Yeah.
There wasn't. I guess the cynicism was different then. It wasn't. It was more like a punk rock mockery. It wasn't that this everything sucks kind of cynicism you see now. And I say this as someone who grew up, like the 80s was really sort of my decade. And I tell people we grew up in that sweet spot between, it turns out you're not all going to die in a nuclear war. You're all going to die from AIDS. So that's that's how they trained our minds, was that you kind of were trapped in between those two things. So I think we got like a month off before we're like, oh no, this is how you're all going to die.
That is a sweet spot.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome.
So as far as like the parts of the movie goes, like, is there anything else that like stood out to you other than the angry dance scene that was either like really, really good or really awful that made you, feel one way or another about the movie?
Well, again, this is a movie that I've probably seen 15 times, but not within the past couple of years. But there was a scene where I think John Lithgow's on the phone and there's two children fighting in the background, and they're the worst child actors, and they're pummeling each other with these really fake punches. And one of my buddies, I don't know why he focused on that scene, but that was always the scene we would reenact from Footloose. If we felt the thespian urges upon us, we would do these two children pummeling each other in the background.
Like the thespian urges. That's a normal thing, right? Everybody feels thespian urges now and then. Oh, man. So I was thinking of that there's like towards the end, there's this dude, and I had a really hard time, for one, like just distinguishing like who was on like Ren's team and who was on Chuck's team, like the good guys and the bad guys. They all look the same to me. But there was one guy who really stood out, and that's the guy who picked his nose. Did you remember that? They're like sitting down there, and like all the dates are being awkward with each other. All the guys and girls like aren't talking to each other and everything. And there's one shot where they're not talking to each other, and the guy just like shoves his finger up his giant schnoz and picks it for a minute. And, my wife was talking to me about that, and she was saying, that guy, I don't I don't think he was in the credits actually as nose picking guy, but like, what would be something that would be really sucky to be known as in a movie? Like you have a few minutes in a movie, or just like you're on the screen for just a second for something really sucky, like nose picking. Like what's the thing that you think would be the suckiest thing to be known for?
Well, I mean, are we talking 2 girls, 1 cup here, or what? I mean,
Oh man,
I'll take the nose picking if you give it. If this is, I'm not sure what the range of options are.
I think pretty much any time a camera is just on me when I don't know a camera is on me in real life is not anything I want to see.
Nobody should ever see that.
Yeah, you don't want to be nose pick guy. You want to be Harry met Sally. I'll have what she's having. Like that's your one moment you
Yeah.
might have.
That is.
Jump in with a great line. Anything else you guys want to talk about before we head over to our random questions segment? Any other parts of the movie, or like, I don't know, things you want to make fun of, or anything that you want to bring up before we move on?
I'll say this, but just doing a little bit of refreshing my memory on this, looking at this on YouTube, and I don't know why this still surprises me, but that there's people in the YouTube comment section fighting over clips from the original Footloose, as if they're watching, as if this is footage of actual. It's like it's a movie. They're not real people. It's 35 years. Like what world do you live in where you need to? I got to stake my claim. That character would never do that. What are you talking about?
It's just a bunch of trolls just looking to argue about something on the internet. That's just.
But it's troll on troll action now. Like there's no real comment there.
2 trolls, 1 thread. You know what I thought though? I thought, one thing, it was weird seeing Sarah Jessica Parker kind of as like the I don't want to say ugly friend, but kind of, like the lesser friend.
Mm-hmm.
And
I thought that she was like the hottest I've seen her in this movie. I was like, oh, Sarah Jessica Parker is actually kind of hot.
She didn't like fully grow into her horse yet.
Yeah. She was just like a little.
She was a mere cult.
Filly.
She was a cult. Sarah Jessica cult.
It was cute back then. I mean, if you want to see really 80s stuff, check out the old TV show Square Peg. She was great on that.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
I never heard of that one before. I also thought Ariel was such a weird and sucky character. Like, she was always trying to get herself killed.
Yeah.
No wonder her dad's. And also, how would anybody do that if their brother died, like in a car accident? Like, get in front of cars and just be super reckless like that? Is that a normal
standing
thing?
in front of a train and stuff. Yeah.
Yes, what an idiot.
Again, we're talking 80s logic here.
Oh yeah.
This is a decade when you had female steel workers getting water dumped on them in a dance club. Like it just made but they would put these things in movies. I don't know what it was that we never questioned it. Like I don't remember anyone standing up in the movie theater and saying this doesn't make any sense. We were like, oh, well, it's pretty cool. Oh, breakdancing on it. Oh, all right.
That probably belongs there. Angry.
If you think about it, I mean, what was there? There didn't have the internet or anything yet. Like, just kind of, standing in front of the cars is something to do.
Yeah. True. You stand in front of the train, scream for a while. It's pretty fun.
I did watch the clip on YouTube of her getting beat up by her boyfriend, and I was watching. I was like, this is going on really long. Like, we get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it
he
seemed
was a
uncomfortable.
crowd
Yeah.
It turned into like that fight scene from They Live that goes on for like 15 minutes.
I know,
It was hard to watch that part.
Could like recut this movie as like a Lifetime type thing, with all the violence in it. All right, let's head over to our random question segment where we bring up stupid questions and we discuss them with words. I'm in the zone tonight.
Let's use our words, guys.
Okay. I was really excited to have Joe on, and I was like, oh man, is there anything I can do to make this not be the low point in Joe's career? I'm fulfilling my own suck prophecy.
Hey, trust me, you've got a ways to go to hit that milestone.
Yes.
We've
Okay,
got time.
Mac, you have a question? You have a goofy
Yes.
question?
Yep. So yeah, in the movie Ren, which is Kevin Bacon's character, he kind of uses his skills as a dancer to beat up a group of bullies. And so my thought was, what skills or talents or hobbies do you guys have that would help you win a fight? Todd.
Well, I was thinking, I'm a software developer, I could make an app that like sends text messages at a certain time to a guy. And so when the dude's checking his message, I just hit him over the head with a sock full of nickels. So,
Nice.
yeah, the old sock full of nickels. Yeah.
How about you, Joe?
I have no skills that work in a fight, which I've actually proven on many occasions. And contrary to popular belief, you can hit a guy with glasses, and we're actually the preferred guy to hit. If you hit us hard enough, we can't tell you did it. Bet would not be any dancing. I'd have to throw salt in your face like Mr. Fuji, like a real old school wrestling move like that. Like just full on cheating is my only hope. Some chicanery.
Nice.
Love it. Yeah, for me, my skill is just kind of avoiding conflict and hiding and stuff like that. That's the talent I have. And I remember in middle school, I got jumped by these guys on the way home. I was walking home from school, and they like jumped out of a car and came over and like tried to beat me up. And I just kind of stood there and just like they just seemed to get bored and got back in the car and drove off. And like they were middle school kids, so I like wasn't injured or anything. And I kind of feel like I won. I just kind of curled up in a ball.
Standing there. Doesn't that like run in your family? Didn't your dad like used to let dudes punch him in the face?
Well, yeah, but then he beat the crap out of him. I didn't inherit that.
Yeah, that's kind of the part you want.
I got the letting guys punch me part. But, yeah, fortunate.
Oh man. Well, my question is, I was thinking like one of the most memorable scenes of the movie was Ren's anger dance, which we've talked about extensively. What unconventional methods have you used for coping with stress or anger? Joe, what do you got?
Well, I'm a stand-up comic, so that's pretty much it. I mean, that's my valve. I always tell people that if you think everything's fine the way it is, you have no desire to stand on the stage addressing a group of strangers. Yeah, I guess there was something cathartic about watching him. I mean, when he's punching the wall like that, you watch it now and it looks so absurd. But I did watch. He recreated that on the Tonight Show a couple of years ago for I guess the 35th anniversary. Is that right?
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and when you watch it, like Kevin Bacon still he looks good and he's got the moves, man. Good for him. Because that always hurts. Like when you see someone.
Yeah.
Because it reminds you of your own mortality that you see like. Oh, that guy was James Spader was like. He was like, oh, he's the hot rich dude, and you see him, he's like this bald penguin-y type guy, and you think, oh God, you should have gone with Ducky. Ducky looks the same. John Cryer looks the same.
We just watched something with him from the 80s on it, and he was all majestic with his majestic hair.
He was beautiful, yeah.
Great. Man, so Joe, side tangent real quick. So you're a stand-up guy, like, do you ever feel like you get insulted by somebody and you can just like talk all the free crap you want? Like, does that ever inspire your jokes? Like someone being an a-hole to you? You write down a bunch of jokes about them and talk crap in front of.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think so many times that you'll have someone who makes you mad, and then later on you come up with some great line. You just have to suck on it. Like there's no outlet for most people to do that. So
Yeah.
what's nice is that if I have those kind of interactions and I don't say it then, I can recreate the whole scene on stage, and I can bring people in, and I can kind of get my own sense of justice, because that's sad. I was listening to I was eavesdropping on some people, and I heard a woman the other day start a story with, and then I almost said, I thought, this is the most pointless story of all time. Like, a story I didn't even say. So yeah, it's good. It is good skills for that. You know, we learn on stage how to handle people like that because people don't realize they say the same stupid things over and over again. So if
Yeah,
you're a comic, you've heard it.
that's great. Uh, okay, let's see. Mac, what's your unconventional way for dealing with crap?
I mean, I don't really have one. I'm kind of along the lines of my last answer. Avoidance is kind of my jam. So I just like, I'll play video games and eat my sorrows and nap, and that's how I handle it. I handle it by not handling it.
Oh man, I forgot about eating sorrows. I totally do and slash love that. That's the best.
That is the best way.
Yeah, I also do video games too, man. I think it's just because it gets my mind off of whatever crap, But
Yeah.
games work, man. I believe in that. I was thinking that maybe I should try dancing because I've been feeling a little bit foot tight lately. Should crabby joke.
Got to cut. Problem it was only a select group of people were cutting. You need everybody cutting.
Aha. Yeah, it's true. Okay, well, I guess that wraps up our discussion of Footloose, and let's talk about next week. Mac is in charge of the movie next week. What do you got, man?
All right, so next week we're gonna go away. We haven't gone yet. We're gonna watch an anime movie called Ninja Scroll, which I've never seen, and I've never seen very many anime things, so I'm excited.
Awesome. I'm in the same boat. I've seen like 2 anime things my whole life, and I kind of want to give them a try because they seem like they could be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Are you into that crap at all, Joe? Anime?
No, I like some animated stuff, but the actual Japanese anime, I feel like there's always that element of little girl, schoolgirl outfit that kind of creeps me out.
Oh.
Because the Japanese, it seems like they're into American culture, but they don't quite get it. Like there's always something that's like, ugh, that's a little off. I tried watching that Attack on Titan stuff on Adult Swim, but there's too much talking, and it's like I don't want to watch an animated movie where there's a lot of dialogue. I want to see monsters eating people.
That makes perfect sense. I heard that one was supposed to be cool. So that you didn't end up liking Attack on Titan?
I don't want all that stuff in between monsters eting people. I don't need this backstory. People are having arguments and stuff. I was like, I don't even know who these characters are.
Oh man. All right, so what's it called again? Ninja Soul? Ninja Shadow?
Ninja Scroll.
Ninja Scroll. I was close with
Yeah.
Ninja Soul. All right, Ninja Scroll next. And did you say it's on Netflix?
I believe so.
Okay, maybe it's on
If
Netflix.
it's not, we might have to pick something else, but whatever.
Okay, yeah, it'll work. Sweet. I guess that's it. All right, well, Triers, thank you for watching the show tonight, or thank you for listening if you're catching it later on. Big thanks to Joe for being on. Joe, do you want to plug anything you're doing, tours or gigs that you have coming up?
Yeah, sure. Well, I don't get out west too much, but I did actually just start. Finally got around to putting up some long form writing on a blog. So if you go to joedevito.com, there's a link to my WordPress, and that's brand spanking new. I mean, I've been doing more of my stuff on Twitter, but if you go to the webpage, I've got links to the WordPress blog. Actually, it's funny. I just put up 2 long pieces about getting beat up as a kid. So this is actually
perfect.
a connection to this. And follow me on Twitter, Joe DeVito Comedy. And I always have my schedule up there. If people watching the show see something come near you, just email me and we'll say hello after the show.
Awesome, thank you. So that's it for this week. Remember, we're live every week at 8:30 p.m. Pacific time on our Facebook page. Just search for Try Again Podcast, and you can find us there. Make sure you can subscribe in iTunes. Search for Try Again Podcast there. Give the show a review if you like the show. Let us know you're enjoying it or what movies you might want to have us watch or whatever. And thank you for listening or watching, and we'll see you next week.